Hey everybody, so today we're going to look at all of the booster boxes and kind of do a market update video. I haven't done a dedicated one for booster boxes in a long time. We're going to look at a little bit of Sun and Moon, all of Sword and Shield, and then all of Scarlet and Violet. So starting off with Unbroken Bonds, sitting around 775. You do have some recent sales a lot higher than that though. January 12th, 930, and January 21st, $1,100. So you'll see that these boxes don't sell a lot, the Sun and Moon ones and some of the older Sword and Shield on TCG Player too much, but we are seeing a trend upwards. Unified Minds sitting around $830. If you remember back last year, this was like a $710 box. Most recent sales, which are more consistent, February 6th, $950, February 10th, $980, and February 10th as well, same day, $1,000. So this is getting pretty close to being a legit $1,000 box on TCG Player. And then finally, Cosmic Eclipse. The graph is really messed up on TCG Player, sitting around $1,150, but most recent sales for this are $1,400 and $1,500, January 26th and 27th. And if you remember, about a year ago, this was an $850, $900 box. So that's like a 67% move over the past 12 months for Cosmic Eclipse. Now we'll look at a bit of Sword and Shield. So base set sitting around $360. You do have most recent sales though around $450 and is selling consistently at that price throughout January. So the graph is a bit off there. Rebel Clash sitting around $235. Most recent sales from the 11th and 13th, $240, so still in that range. Darkness Ablaze is a really surprising one. This box is actually up over 30% the past 3 months from around $150, now sitting around $200 most recent sale from today. Moving on, we have Vivid Voltage sitting around $185. This box is actually continuing to climb as well. It's one of the few that over the past month and a half is still going, getting close to $190 there. Battle Styles taking a little dip into the low 160s. You do have sales in that mid 160 range as well, but it is averaging out a little bit. We haven't seen a spike since it sold out on the Pokemon Center. Chilling Reign sitting around $320. You actually have sales as low as $310, and loose packs, actually sorry, $305 I guess technically in that range is the lowest over the past couple days. Guys, if you can find Chilling Reign around $300, like I think it's a decent buy. I honestly might even get more if I can find some at that price, because it's just continuing to drop and it's only going to last so long. Evolving Skies sitting around $350. Most recent sales $1,250 and $1,275 though from yesterday. Fusion Strike still in that $450 range, and it is holding strong in that range based on most recent sales. Brilliant Stars is holding as well in that $285 range and being fairly resilient. You even have a couple sales up to around that 190 price point, which is good to see. A couple lower ones as well, but the average is a bit higher than that. Astral Radiance, which was up to around 240, is pulling back a little bit in that 225 to 235 range. That's pretty consistent. Lost Origin, this one obviously took a huge dip, and it kind of seems like it's finding a bottom around 340 right now, and sales are consistent in that range. And then Silver Tempest, I mean, this is the last of Sword and Shield. This box is actually, starting to move back up and actually see all-time highs. So mid-January, I guess, was around 245, came down to around 230. We now have recent sales back at 245 from yesterday and today, most recent ones. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to Silver Tempest, but I would not be surprised if it continues to slowly move up into that 250, 260 range. I think people really like Silver Tempest, and honestly, with the Lugia continuing to go as well, it might get close to Brilliant Stars and kind of get into that range. So that's interesting to see. And then moving into Scarlet Violet sets, a lot of these are continuing to climb as well, whereas a lot of Sword and Shield we just saw is stagnating. A lot of these boxes are slowly rising. So base set, almost $150 now, guys. Right on the nose, basically, $149.98. That's from today, and lots of sales from today and yesterday in that range. Paldea Evolved is kind of going sideways still, but it looks like it wants to break out of this 190, 195 range and slowly break into that 200 price point. Yesterday, you did have sales 209, 205, so there are some sales over $200 now. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. Obsidian Flames up 50% over the past 3 months, almost $190 a box now, guys. And you have sales basically right there from today. So crazy. I did not expect this out of Obsidian Flames. I think just because it's one of the older sets, that's probably why it is slightly higher than some of these newer sets. We'll see in a couple years what happens, especially when the set moves out of rotation and a lot of those playable cards aren't as relevant anymore. But I guess a lot of that is just Charizard doing its thing, and also the Ninetales in that set's up to about $30, I think, at this point too, which is quite impressive. Paradox Rift still moving as well, almost at $160. And do we have, yeah, basically every single sale is at 160 from today and yesterday. The Groudon, I think, is about $102, so still slightly over 100. Temporal Forces pulling back a tiny bit. This is one of the last sets available on the Pokemon Center. It seems like Hobbiesville and some of these other stores in Canada still have a fair amount of boxes, maybe 200, 300 available on their websites. So I don't think it's going to move too much higher than this over the next couple months unless it sells out on the Pokemon Center, and then those stores slowly move their prices up, sitting around 165, 170. But most recent sales are definitely around that 162 price point, and I think a lot of that has to do with it being in stock on the Pokemon Center. The Raging Bolt's moved under $100 now as well. I think it's about $99, $98. Twilight Masquerade, this is another one that's, breaking out again. We saw it spike mid-January to around 190, came back down to the mid to low 170s, and it's now breaking through $200 again. You have sales right there, $199.99. The Greninja, which we'll look at in a second, is up to $350 now, and there was even sales around $450 on the Greninja. The Eevee, I think, is slightly below $100 now, but that's not super important. Stellar Crown, the second to last set, sitting around that 166 range. And you do have recent sales kind of close to 170, but you have a few as well in that 157 range. So a little bit all over the place. Stellar Crown still in stock on the Pokemon Center. The Squirtle and Bulbasaur have pulled back a bit. I think the Bulbasaur is around $60 now. The Squirtle's around 70. Terapagos is still in that 85 range. Again, I don't think this is going to go too much higher than this just because it's still in stock on the Pokemon Center. But once it sells out, we'll see what happens at that point. And then finally, Surging Sparks, kind of doing the same thing as Paldea Evolved. I think people are, not willing to pay more than this at this price point. But again, if we don't get more booster boxes soon, like who knows what's going to happen, or even just more product in general. The Pikachu is coming down a tiny bit. I think it's in that 460 range at this point, 450, and probably sales lower than that. But, over the past month, it's still fairly flat. It's fluctuating a little bit, kind of like what the booster box is doing right now. Now, guys, before we look at a couple cards, I just wanted to jump in here and say 61% of you aren't subscribed to the channel. So if you're getting some value out of this content, I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe. And thank you in advance if you do decide to do that and support the channel. Now, looking at a couple cards, the Pikachu VMAX from Vivid Voltage, and we'll just finish with this quickly. Up 44.54% over the past 3 months. A little bit higher, outperforming the Vivid Voltage booster box. This is now back up over $150. I think this might actually be maybe outside the pandemic, like first couple months, this might be an all-time high on the card, and it is selling in this range consistently. Most recent sale actually is $179. You had a sale a couple days ago at $200 as well, so very interesting to see there. The Lugia from Silver Tempest is sitting around $290 and continuing just to climb very slowly. And you do have sales up to $318 from yesterday. You had a misprint sell today for $340 as well. You have a couple lower sales, $275, but it is averaging out seemingly around $300. And not surprising. I mean, this is a great card. I love the artwork. I've been saying this for years. Just the colors and stuff, the blues with like the types of greens in there and everything. It's really great. I love this artwork. The Greninja, again, I alluded to this earlier, sitting around $350, and I'll just show you the data. $450 sale yesterday. You had a lower one today, $330, $345 yesterday, $400 yesterday, $370. So again, slowly moving up from that $330 range. The Altaria from Paradox Rift, I thought I wanted to throw this one in here, up to $68, up 144% over the past 3 months. And before the past month or so, I mean, this thing was climbing from that 22 range up to around 35, and it's just basically doubled. Again, people are really pumping this card. Again, it's a great artwork. Altaria's, fairly popular Pokemon, I guess. And it's not surprising that this card is, being picked up finally, but to reach almost $70 for Altaria is a little bit surprising in my mind. And then finally, the Magikarp, $245, again, continuing to move up. You look at the 1-year chart on this, like it's moved from $68, $70. up to around 250. Just insane, like 300% return or more, depending on when you bought it. This card was like what, $40 uh, early last year, maybe even late 2023. Just wild, some of the growth on these cards. But that's all I got for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.